The Spotlight, shining a light on podcasts and videos that have caught our attention.
Hi and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm Jen Spiker and today I'm highlighting a video you'll find on the Vision app. But the conversation was originally from Vision's national breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Each weekday morning, the Rise and Shine crew fire up the studio with a lot of fun, some interesting guests, useful real-life biblical insight, plus positive music to get your day going in the right direction. A recent guest on the program was MAF Man, David Chandler. Phil and Matt spoke to David, who is a pilot based in Arnhem Land, to find out more about MAF and the work they do in remote parts of Australia.
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
You're on Rise and Shine with Matt and Phil all across Australia, and we are so blessed today to have David Chandler in the studio, who is a MAF Man. MAF is a Mission Aviation Fellowship, and we love partnering with these guys. Welcome along, buddy. How are you?
Really good, thanks.
Tell us about what your role is with MAF.
I'm a full-time pilot in Arnhem Land, so I serve in the Arnhem Land program, flying 5 days a week, doing various different things.
Oh, very cool.
Wow, that is so cool, because I think we've spoken to some of the crew from MAF, Mission Aviation Fellowship. I feel like I have to say that a couple of times, but it's something that for someone who's listening along, I know in our family, it was completely new to me. I didn't know MAF existed. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the idea and what happens with MAF?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mission Aviation Fellowship is an aviation ministry that focuses on bridging the gap between isolated and remote people groups around the world.
Wow.
And providing a connection between some really dire circumstances and needs, and just providing a connection between the services and the providers who can meet those needs. So connecting people with whatever it is. If it's situations of domestic violence, we provide opportunity for people to step in there and help people out, or if they need food or water, we can provide connection to bring that to people. So we do so many different things around the world.
Wow, and the aviation part's obviously a key there.
Oh, absolutely.
That you can fly in and fly out for the help. A bit like a superhero, really. David, how did you get involved?
I was looking at doing different things with my life when I was younger, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do missions work, and there's so many different skills you can do on the mission field. You could be a carpenter, you could be a chef or a mechanic, or absolutely anything just about. And when I was at church one day, I actually met a pilot that worked with MAF in my church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was like, oh man, this is such an awesome job, being able to work with isolated remote people groups around the world and connect them with hope and healing and all of these wonderful things. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And it was something that I wanted to explore, and through many wonderful stories, God kind of just kept opening the door to get into aviation, and I kind of fell into it. And after kind of knocking on the first door, it took about 2 years to become a fully qualified commercial pilot and lined up to serve with MAF. So that's, it's been a real privilege.
And for those who don't know, you're actually a celebrity. You're quite famous. You've featured on the Colin Buchanan video about MAF Men.
That is famous.
Which is like a Father's Day kind of fundraising thing that you guys do. What was it like hanging out with Colin Buchanan when he filmed that video?
Oh, it was a blast. Having Colin up in Arnhem Land was just such a wonderful time. So I had him in the back of the plane, and we were doing different shoots for filming. So we were flying out to these little Christian schools out in the middle of the bush, and Colin was in the back of the plane playing his guitar, and they were filming. And so it's kind of got like a little a live performance from Colin, just for flight after flight, just taking him around, and he'd be singing in the back and taking him out to schools and stuff, which was really wonderful to see him engage with the schools out there and do a bit of filming with him. But he's such a lovely man, and it was wonderful.
I could just imagine with him in the plane when you're about to land, he's probably going 10, 9, 8, time to land. Did he make up songs?
Oh, absolutely. The plane was bouncing as we were flying along.
It could be a danger actually having Colin on board.
Yeah, that's right. And tell us what it's like where you're based, because you're in Arnhem Land. We do have a whole bunch of vision stations in Indigenous communities around Australia. What's it like where you guys live?
It's quite unique. It's very remote, but it's got a very it's got a wonderful little community vibe, and it's a smashing together of these two cultures that don't normally interact as much. But there's a real richness in the Indigenous culture up in Arnhem Land, and we get to be a part of that, and we get to support that community. But the country itself is quite unique. We have 2 seasons throughout the year. It's either everything's flooded and washed out, or everything's on fire and burning, and there's not much in between. So, but it's wonderful up there, and I can't think of a more beautiful place to live.
Now, there's a whole bunch of places up there that we can't pronounce, and we're always trying to work out how to pronounce
that is true.
Some of the names. So what's the place you're from?
I'm from Nhulunbuy.
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 Now, I've been calling it Nhulunbuy, but it's Nhulunbuy, is it?
Look, I'm not an expert in your mother, but so Nhulunbuy is where I'm from, but a lot of people just call it Gove. That struggle with the pronunciation.
That's easy. Okay. What other towns around there that you fly to?
So some of the major communities that we service is Gapuyak, Galawinku. We go to Ramangini, Milingimbi, as well as some of the more wider ones out towards Catherine Way and Darwin. Like we go to Delisaville and all the way to the other side of Darwin sometimes with the different flights that we do.
Very cool.
I can imagine if there's flooding and fire most of the year, the service you provide must be a lifesaver for those people in those remote communities.
Absolutely. And it provides a lot of opportunity for services and for service providers to get engaged with the wider community, because if you're going to go somewhere to provide like a clinic, a first aid clinic, and you have to drive 6 hours, it really limits the amount of time you can spend in those communities and what you can do and how you can engage and serve the people that live there. But if instead of a 6-hour drive through some of the worst roads in Australia, if you got a 20-minute flight or a 30-minute flight, then you get a lot more time to engage with the community as well as to potentially go to another community on the same day, which really opens up more opportunities for a valuable service to be provided.
Are you on Rise and Shine with Phil and Matt?
And we've got David Chandler here in the studio with us. He's a pilot with Mission Aviation Fellowship, normally based in Arnhem Land, but he's home on a bit of a break.
I've been up to Alice Springs before, and I saw Will Graham preach, Billy Graham's grandson. There was like 900 people came to Christ. It was a great move of God. Vision was there many years ago. And I just believe that if we see a move of God among Indigenous Aussies, I believe it's a key for the rest of Australia to have a move of God. A lot of people have, shared that over the years, and I just love the fact that you guys are out there in those communities. I interviewed a guy years ago. I can't remember his name. I think his name's Bunnembeer. Do you know who I'm talking about?
The name rings a bell, but I wouldn't be able to recall the face. He's
a well-known evangelist, Indigenous evangelist, and he shared that there's all these remote communities where they're like mostly Christian, like 80-90%
Really?
Christian. Very strong, revival culture in those communities, whereas the narrative you hear in the media is that there's all this trouble in these Aboriginal communities, and because you hear the bad story, that's what the news does, the secular news, they share the bad news stories, but there's actually a lot of good news stories. Are you hearing anything like that? Like, is there Indigenous guys in your churches that you're connected to that you're seeing there's a bit of a move of God happening?
Absolutely. It's the tip of the spear, really. So we have some really troubling parts of the community, but like you said, there's not much talk about the good stuff that goes on. And I think we fly to about 40, 50 different communities up in Arnhem Land, and so many of them, if not most of them, have said to us as MAF pilots, because they know that we're Christians, they know that we do the work for the Lord, and that's why we're ministering and serving in these communities. But they say to us, can you come to our little homeland on a Sunday and run a church service for us? Can you, do some worship and preach and, all of these things? And the problem really is that there's just not enough people that are able to go into those places and provide, teaching and preaching and just loving and caring for these people. But they're crying out for it in all of the homelands, which is so wonderful to hear. And we often get to participate in revival meetings where we just sing and dance all night and praise the Lord. And, and it's really wonderful. But, there's this real cry for, please come and minister to us. But there's just not enough people to meet the need.
Dave, if there's someone, I'm imagining my kids are listening to you in the car right now. If there's a kid like mine that says, hey, something about David, I think one day I would love to be a pilot. I would love to work for MAF. I would love to go to these rural and remote regions and help God's work. What would be your thought for them this morning?
Well, what I'd say to them is I'd say just start talking to people. There's so many different opportunities around the world for ministry. With MAF, my journey really started with just a phone call to the MAF guys in Sydney and just being like, hey, this work you do is pretty cool. How does one get involved? And then they just supported me and have still been supporting me ever since then, just getting me into different work and different roles and training. And it's been the adventure of a lifetime. So I would say don't hold back. If there's something that interests you in missions or in aviation, just start talking to people and I'm sure God will open up some doors for you.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, if people want to find out more, they can search up Mission Aviation Fellowship. Search them up at the website. You're on your social media channels as well. So you're on Facebook, Instagram. Are you on TikTok yet? Do you guys do TikTok dances?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Actually, that might be an idea. Matt could certainly give you some skills.
People can search up Mission Aviation Fellowship, and let's pray for workers in the harvest field to join in with MAF I know that you do guys stuff in Arnhem Land, but you also go to PNG. I was up preaching in PNG a couple of years ago, met a few MAF guys at the airport who were doing their work. They were transporting some missionaries somewhere or something, and in some pretty remote areas with dodgy, airstrips.
Wow!
But they go and they take these missionaries into these remote areas in PNG, and Timor-Leste is another area you've been focusing on. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had one of our pilots there. He was getting married, so I was going to cover for him for 6 weeks, and that was a real wonderful time. But Timor-Leste, most of their ministry over there they're like the ambulance in Timor-Leste.
Wow.
Whenever there's a life-threatening situation or there's someone with a complicated pregnancy or anything like that, they call up MAF, and MAF flies into the jungle, into the places of Timor-Leste, and they pick people up and take them to the hospital.
Great.
So, for about the 40 to 50 hours I flew in Timor, I would say 85% of that was just pulling people out of the jungle and getting them to hospitals and to the help that they
Well,
needed.
it wasn't for MAF. It sounds like those people would be in dire straits.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are a superhero. Amazing. Well, if people want to find out more, search up Mission Aviation Fellowship, doing great work in Australia, different nations all around the world. Thanks for joining us today, mate. God bless.
Thank you very much.
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
My daddy is a MAF man. He flies and flies above to reach the isolated with lots and lots of love. He brings them food and shelter along with medicine. 'Cause if they are in trouble, my dad can get to them.
Oh, that's what it takes to be a MAF man, to play your part in the master's plan, to fly through skies and rescue lives. Yeah, that's what it takes to be a MAF man.
My daddy is a MAF man. He works behind the scenes to keep things flying smoothly, reaching those in need, with many others like him supporting every flight. My dad is really sending hope and light.
Oh, that's what it takes to be a MAF man, to play your part in the master's plan, to fly through skies and rescue lives. Yeah, that's what it takes to be a MAF man.
My daddy is a MAF man. He speaks and gives them praise to fuel the flights go out each and every day. Although he may not ever see the ones he saves, my daddy is a MAF man in his own special way.
Come on, everyone! Oh, that's what it takes to be a MAF man, to play your part in the master's plan, to fly through skies and rescue lives. Yeah, that's what it takes to be a MAF man. Oh, that's what it takes to be a MAF man. Oh, that's what it takes to be a MAF man.
On the Spotlight, we've been listening to Colin Buchanan and some cute kids singing MAF Man. Before that, a conversation that Phil and Matt had with a real-life MAF man, pilot David Chandler. There's lots more Rise and Shine interviews and highlights in the Free Vision app. Just tap the podcast tab and search for Rise and Shine. To find out more about the work of Missionary Aviation Fellowship, go to maf.org.au. By the way, if you want to see the cute kids singing along with Colin's song, Google Colin Buchanan MAF Man song. My name is Jen Spiker, and I look forward to joining you next time on The Spotlight as I share another podcast or video that deserves highlighting.
For more great podcasts and videos like the one featured today, check out vision.org.au or the Free Vision app.